I have never done this experiment before. I have no clue how it's going to work out. Yeah, that's the sweat. Hi, I'm Eric from Fibrinor. I'm here to do a quick little science experiment to see if moisture wicking really matters with your socks. Our socks are a merino wool blend. Most common socks are 100% cotton or a cotton poly blend. We want to do a little experiment to show why merino wool socks are better for moisture wicking properties, which keep your feet drier, fresher, and smelling better throughout the day. I've set up this little experiment to see how much moisture, or sweat in this case, is retained by common socks versus Fibrinor socks. So what we're going to do is I've asked my assistant to gather this bottle of human sweat. Yeah, that's the sweat, and see how much might be retained in the cotton socks versus our socks. So the first thing we got to do is make sure we're starting out with a fair fight here. So the ankle socks here, if we weigh this on our kitchen scale, we've got 35 grams. And then our Fibrinor socks also add exactly 35 grams. So we're starting from the same point. Let's see how much moisture these socks retain. So I've got a jar for each sock. I've got my little notepad here. Actually, I gotta write that 35 grams down here. So our starting weight for each of these before, 35G and 35G. Let's start with our regular cotton poly blend socks here. Form it to the shape of the funnel to make sure nothing escapes out the sides. You can see we've got our first pair of socks in. I'm going to take 1 cup of our human sweat, which we've already taste tested. We can even go a little further to make sure our test is accurate here. Let's see, 627, 28, 27, where we settle, okay? Let's pass this through and see what happens, nice and slow. Make sure we're not losing too much of this water. Our funnel. Okay. Lost a few drops here. We'll see if anything that might give our cotton socks a bit of an advantage here, but let's find out. Okay, the sweat has slowed and is pretty much done. Okay, so let's take this over to our scale and see what our after weight is. We've got 167 grams, okay? So that's the time to beat here, 167. You can do the math on that. Let's see the difference here. We're plus 132, it looks like. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with our Fibrinor socks. Let's tuck this in here. 1 cup of our fresh human sweat. Got to get this right on the line there. 629 grams. 20. I don't remember where we started on the other one. 630. I'll go back and look. I think it was 630. So 633, 632. All right, if anything, we've got a little bit more. Let's see how well the Fibrinor socks handle a full day of human sweat. Okay. First thing I'm seeing, if you look here, that water is beating up on top. I'm having to go a little bit slower here because the sock is resisting, kind of creating a barrier. Put the rest of this in here. And let's see how this goes. To be honest, I have never done this experiment before. I have no clue how it's going to work out, but so far I like what I'm seeing. So here is how much water from our 1 cup of water, human sweat, passed through our cotton socks. And I can already see at least twice that has passed through the Fibrinor socks. And there's still, if you can see on top there, there's still water pooling on top that is not wanting to go down. So rather than absorbing and retaining it, it is doing its best to prevent that sweat from soaking into the sock. Now, as you can imagine, a wet, sweaty sock is one of the key drivers of foot odor and discomfort throughout the day. As you can see, we've given this a lot more time and it is still not wanting to absorb this moisture. Let's take this out, shake that off, and do our after weight for our Fibrinor socks. We also started at 35 grams. We are at 40 grams. Wow, I did not expect that big of a difference. So our cotton socks, our cotton blend socks, started at 35 grams. After we poured a cup of human sweat through, we ended with 167 grams of weight. Obviously, mostly sweat. The difference was 132 grams. Our Fibronor socks started with the same starting weight, 35 grams. After pouring an entire cup of sweat through these socks, the after weight is only 40 grams. And most of it was simply repelled by the top layer. And the rest of this sock is still dry, soft, fresh, and comfortable. So we have a difference of 132 grams versus just 5 grams of retained moisture. Wow. I think that concludes our science experiment for today. Hopefully Mr. Erdley, my 6th grade science teacher, is proud of this little experiment I conducted. Fibronor wins the battle of sweat retention and moisture wicking properties. You're going to be more comfortable. Your feet are going to be drier, fresher. They're going to feel better. You're never going to want to go back to cotton socks after you try these.